Hello, everyone. Welcome to the meeting of the Waynesboro Area School District Board of Directors for May the 10th, 2022. Please rise, those of you who are here for the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Ms. Kuzer, everybody's here today. Don't need to do the roll call. Okay, we have the agenda as is. Any changes, Dr. Klein?
No.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Minutes from our last meeting. Do we have a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Second, okay.
Waiting for it, Patty. Okay.
Okay. Did anybody find any issues, questions, comments, or anything from the minutes? If not, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Dr. Klein.
Yeah, I only have two quick things. Today it was, I was at Fairview Avenue and the kids and the staff all celebrated veterans outside in a large tent. It was warm with the sun coming down, but whoever picked the weather or got that ordered did a good job. It was a little windy, but it was very nice. A lot of veterans there, those with 24 and less years service, and the kids did a great job. So I commend Fairview for that. With all the music stuff that was going on, they did a super job. So I want to commend everybody with that. The other thing was, I think they had their spring fling tonight, and I got a text from Mrs. McGuire that she swears there are 1,000 people there. So that's good to hear.
Wow.
Oh, there was one at Hooverville
Their
tonight. too.
parking lot's packed.
Okay, pardon.
The parking lot is packed.
Is it?
So there's
That's good.
That is good.
That's it. Thank you. Okay, we have no public comment tonight. So we'll move on to board reports. Anybody want to?
So
Listen up,
budget met yesterday. And so for the board, we will be voting on the budget on June 14th. So if you look through it, I think Mr. Holtzman's going to send out the most recent update on this Friday's folder. So please take time to look through it to make sure that if there's any comments that you have or thoughts, please get it to our budget chair, which is Mrs. Zimmerman. And then just for the kind of general knowledge, we're happy with where the budget is right now. The reason being is that I think we've done a lot of good for our teachers and our students and our staff. We as a committee think we've really tried to increase quality of education over the years. I know that the board in previous years has done a lot of good in trying to build up our general fund, which has been relatively low, especially when we compare it to other districts in our county. And so that's why we're kind of happy with where the budget is. That being said, there is the potential for a tax increase. Again, when we look at things over the past couple of years, like ESSER funds, that is a one-time gift from the government. And so you think about whether you're budgeting for a family or business, you get one-time money, you want to spend it on one-time expenses. And so since we are trying to take care of our teachers and our staff and our students, increase the quality of education, those are ongoing expenses, which means the budget's going to increase over time. So that's why we're looking at a potential tax increase as well. And so just a kind of one final comment, just as we've been having discussions on the budget. Cyber charter schools are $3.6 million of our budget. That is money our district and our county does not see. If we did not have to pay $3.6 million to cyber charter schools, we will not need to raise taxes. And so that's just kind of food for thought out there as well. So Mrs. Zimmerman, anything you want to add or anything that I missed that you want to bring up?
No, I just want to remind them that $3.6 million is 14 mills. 14 mills, of our budget. Also, pre-COVID, I believe we paid slightly less than 2 million
Close to 2 million.
a year for cyber charter, and now it's up to 3.6 million. So big increase. And we have our own cyber school within the district, which is very reasonably priced for the district. We could save a tremendous amount of money if the kids who choose a cyber school would go with our district cyber.
Yeah, and I would just, as the other member of the committee, I would just add too, that we still receive unfunded mandates from the state that we're responsible for. This has been happening in special ed forever. And if you look at how much money the state contributes to the budget in Pennsylvania versus local taxes, we're way down there. Most of the money comes from local with property taxes, whereas in other states it's reversed. So we don't get state money, but they tell us what we have to spend it on quite a bit. So these are things that, probably the average person may or may not know, but they're all contributing to our thoughts when we're trying to look at budget items. Okay. Thank you, Budget Committee. Other reports from different committees.
There's no policy committee, May 18th. As we said before, we're all caught up and possibly even a little ahead. And our next meeting isn't until June. And shall I do facilities?
Sure.
Facilities is May 17th at 5:30 at Maury.
Right. So it's not going to be an easy meeting. If anybody would like to attend, I guess you could come out tomorrow if you want. We're looking at some facilities issues out there. But that's for this month. There also will not be an academic committee meeting this month. Those issues will start back again with some of those things in June. Any other committees?
I would like to thank the board for your participation in the committee. You have no idea how important it is, and just the fact that you discuss, talk through different issues, and then you present them to the whole board. But the dedication that you've given towards those committees is really good, because that keeps things moving, keeps things usually fairly common. Have that communication. So I appreciate you being dedicated to those.
Okay, moving on then to the student board rep report. Who's going to be updating us today?
So, yeah, we're tagged.
Tag team,
So,
go for it.
I just came from the junior Jumpstart and I left a little bit early, but when I was there for it, it was very there was a really great turnout. And when I was there, the information that was told was very valuable. And some of it was stuff that we actually didn't know, even if we hadn't yet met with Miss Rankinman. So it was very helpful and it was a really good idea to do it.
Okay, so she talked about that
Yeah,
last time, but
Last 2 minutes.
but inform everybody else in case they don't know what that meeting
Okay,
was about.
so Junior Jumpstart was started by Miss Rankinman, and it is for juniors only, and it's she's talking about state colleges versus private colleges, so the tuition with them, when to start doing college visits, and what we should be doing as a junior, and how we can maximize our summer along with our enrollment. So there's multiple different enrollments. So if you do an early decision, that's binding, but the next 2 months or the next 2 sections aren't binding. So you could look at other schools and be accepted. It's just talking about other college information that you have to know. So it was very helpful for
Good.
what I was there for.
Good. Other news?
And then something I wanted to share, not necessarily problem or anything, but just something that kind of affects some of our students. And it was just on my mind because coming up, we have the internal two-hour delays, and I'm sure Dr. McCallum knows about this. But whenever we do have the 2-hour delay schedules for our seniors, a lot of them leave early for jobs, internships, things like that. But third period actually gets bumped to the end of the day. So a lot of students miss that because they have obligations that they've made, either to their jobs or often with their educational internships. So what tends to happen is they'll email their teachers and stuff, but that's just something that I don't know if you all know about. I know Dr. McCallum does, but just something to think about.
So you just want to be sure that the seniors get all the information that they need.
Yeah, just because there's not really as far as I know, an official system. Just people tend to send emails whenever. I don't know. I just was on my mind.
Okay. I guess to some degree, it's a responsibility of the
Yeah.
student who's not there. Right. Okay. Okay. Anything else? Prom, Saturday?
Yeah.
Well, it's not gonna rain.
Fingers crossed.
Okay.
You're just glad it wasn't last Saturday, right? Yeah.
It rains for more inside. not
There you
there.
go. That's right. Okay, thank you very much. Moving on now to the first item tonight, which is a presentation from Dr. Sir Foss.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for having me here tonight. I'm bringing my phone to catch myself on time because I'm not noticing a clock and sometimes I can get talking. But thank you so much for having me here tonight. Nick, I think, is going to help us out. He already is with slides. So I guess you all have them back there. So just checking that. And then Nick, I have a video on slide 3. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed that you can help us with that when we get to that point. And good to see you, by the way.
Yep, I
wherever
have
you
it all
are.
queued up, so we're good to go.
Cyberspace. So I'm Annette Foss from First Start Partnerships for Children and Families. I know many of you because we've been working together for, believe it or not, 5 years now. Dr. Klein and I actually started our jobs in the same year. So we are very pleased with the progress that we're making in early childhood education here in Waynesboro, really due to all of your leadership. So I first of all want to thank you for this journey that we're on. And I'm here tonight to share you the next step in the journey. So our next step, our newest area that we are adding to our partnership around pre-K counts classrooms, we're actually expanding that. I'll share a little bit about that when we're finished, is called the Plume Professional Development Center. So you may have heard of the Family Center that First Start Partnerships for Children and Families through an endowment from Summit Endowment Fund started this last year. That is really focused on families all across the county and what their needs are. And so we're finishing out year 1 with that. We've already been granted second year funds from Summit Endowment. And so all of those services are available, and we'll be expanding those services here in Waynesboro as well. So we're adding the Plume Professional Development Center. And you are one of the first people to really know about this. And that's because, again, Dr. Klein and members of the board and the early childhood community here in Waynesboro have agreed to be a pilot for the Bloom Center in 2022 to 2023. And we're building on the work that was started through funding from what's called the Professional Development Organization at PASHE. And essentially what happened is probably about 3 years ago, the state of Pennsylvania decided to make a change to how they were funding professional development. So it used to be a workshop kind of thing. So you would go to trainings, and I call them collecting Weight Watcher points. You had to have a certain number of hours per year, but there wasn't really any assessment to it. You could literally sleep through a training and get credit for it. And so because of work that's been done nationally through the National Association for the Education of Young Children and multiple other partners, Pennsylvania made the brave decision to put their professional development funds into what's called a Child Development Associate, which is a step between a high school degree and associate degree, and then the associate's degree and bachelor's degree. So they're really focusing their efforts on improving early childhood education in childcare centers, Head Start programs. Pre-K Counts already has a pretty high standard of professional preparation, similar to public schools. But that really kind of got us started. Here locally, we have been supporting not only Franklin County, but multiple other counties in getting their credentials, the CDA, the associate's degree, and the bachelor's degree. So that's really been the beginning for the past 3 years now. And so I want to share with you a little video that describes kind of how this got started with something called the Early Childhood Apprenticeship Program. We started it for Start Partnerships. Early childhood education is a registered apprenticeship program. Registered apprenticeship programs teach skills, build confidence, and there are so many benefits to First Start Partnership.
childcare, start programs in the company, and early childhood programs. In the United States, there are more than 24,000 apprenticeship programs, and Capita offers a variety of apprenticeship programs throughout the state, from culinary arts to electrical work, and now early childhood education. Since Capita's registered early childhood education apprenticeship program is an investment in as a coach in the apprenticeship program, my goal is to support aspirations. One of the biggest factors has been, work together with us. It's rewarding to the relationship. It's a professional development approach to address qualified teachers and advance the qualifications of existing childhood teachers. This is a workforce that keeps all other workers employed when they have young children. The goal of the program is to currently employ passionate and skilled children and beyond the child development social multiple educational supports and coaching throughout the process. I've received lots of support from my coach. She was always there for any questions that I had, for help, and then hopefully like whatever I needed. But I would like others to know that our sure that it was a stepping stone for childhood education, and there's plenty of support we can get along. Unlimited work experience accounts for credit release, which expedites the process. Apprenticeship is a career pathway individuals can learn and learn at the same time. First Star Partnerships for Children and Families was the first employer in Franklin County and South Central region to pilot the early childhood apprenticeship program. With the apprentices completing their coursework, 6 apprentices currently in the program, we wanted to share our stories with you. We hope to inspire you to want to learn more about this program and take the next steps to offer this opportunity to your staff.
So that was published last year. So an update since then is that all but one of our original CDA pilot apprentices have not only completed 9 college credits, so their coursework was college credit bearing through Shippensburg University, but they've received their national credential, which includes a test, a portfolio, and an observation of their practice. So that's quite an accomplishment through that. And so we've expanded. We're helping other programs, including one other than us in Waynesboro right now. There is one other one. And we have learned a lot about what it takes to improve, attract, and retain highly qualified staff in the early childhood workforce. And if I'm sure you know that there's a national crisis in childcare, and that there's a crisis here in Franklin County, and there's a crisis here in Waynesboro. So First Start Partnerships is funded to do this work. It's also a part of Head Start and what Head Start expects us to do in impacting the community, not just the children and families and teachers that we serve. So we're really excited to take this next step in the journey. So our existing programs in the Plume Center are the Apprenticeships, and that is really intensive on-site support from a peer coach using the National Association for the Education of Young Children competencies. So not only do they learn in the coursework, but they're observed and mentored and coached in practice on how they're applying that coursework. So it's like really good professional development. Really, what is the best car there is? Whatever that is, it's the Cadillac or Mercedes version of professional development. And it's all free to our early childhood programs, completely free. The college coursework is free. The on-site coaching is free. And the only thing that we ask is that in return, there are increases for the staff members as they complete coursework and complete their CDA. Our staff on average earn 9% more than before they started the apprenticeship program. We also work with multiple counties on administering the PDO at PASHE tuition assistance that does not require all the apprenticeship increases, those kinds of things. So we help them to administer that. And now what we're moving into next, and that we are asking in partnership with the school district, asking our childcare programs in the region, is to work on leadership and development, management development. Because one of the things that we quickly learned is you have to have the right climate and culture and retention and focus on those things that matter most in order to really even embrace or engage in one of these professional development initiatives. So we call it readiness, right? In the professional development field, you need to have readiness. Well, COVID didn't get anybody ready for anything except for to keep yourself healthy and safe, right? So we know that the last 2 years have been really tough, but we know that going forward, this is going to be really helpful. And the other thing that we know is that the number one need that our programs ask for is help with children with challenging behaviors. And so that is the piece that we're going to add. Again, we're not looking at one-shot workshops. That's not what we do. We're looking at commitments, long-term commitments in an implementation science lens, that it's going to take time to make these kinds of change. It's going to take time to feel comfortable talking with families about a potential delay in a child's development. And how do we use all these resources that are out there to be able to help that child? We know that research says that children are 5 times more likely to be expelled in an early childhood program than they are in a public school program. And that what that does is set up the child and the family not to be so ready for school. And that's our goal. So we want to really focus on that. So those are our 2 initiatives that we'll be launching. And so if you go to the next slide, Nick, you have to join on time. I warned you. See, 2 minutes over already. I said 10 minutes. Erica here, she is. Erica has helped identify, by the way, you know how amazing that she is, right? Yeah, we just wanted to make sure. She has helped us select 9 programs that might be interested in being a part of the Bloom Center pilot. So these are listed here, and she knows them very well. Obviously, professional development, I believe, is voluntary. So they will be invited to be a part of our work, but we know that the trade-offs and what they will receive will be much more than what they will need to invest, which is mostly time, right? We want to help improve the quality of childcare here in Waynesboro. We do that by helping them to engage in things like Keystone Stars, professional development, and other resources that are available at the state level. So all of that will be included. And so finally, Nick, you can go to the last slide. So this is our vision and our mission. Ready children, stronger families, vibrant communities. And we partner with families, schools, and communities to ensure each child arrives ready for kindergarten. And I cannot think of a better place than Waynesboro and Waynesboro Area School District to be able to do this pilot as our next step in all that we have done. We're now taking lead on the recruitment of staff, the retention of staff, the recruitment of children, the retention of children. And if you don't mind if I brag a little bit, throughout the pandemic, our retention rate that we've been tracking now for 5 years has been pretty much consistently 90% or above. So we think we might be able to help, and we would like to invite some people to be a part of that. So thank you very much. We have 2 board members I should recognize from First Start Partnerships, and certainly people that are involved in the childcare community. So again, thank you all for all you're doing, and incrementally, we are absolutely making a difference.
Thank you. Okay. I was just gonna say, does anybody have any questions or comments or anything? I mean, Dr. Klein's been heavily invested in early childhood from day one that he got here, and I think it's bearing some fruit. I know, we enjoy partnering with you guys and look forward to that continuing along into the future. So anybody have any questions or anything? No? Okay. All right. Moving on then to the business part of the meeting, personnel, Dr. Sternerheim.
Thank you, Mrs. Harold. Within the board documents, we have retirement of support staff, resignation of support staff, resignation of coaching staff, appointments of support staff, change of hours in support staff, appointment of coaching staff, appointment of extracurricular, appointments of Act 91 classroom monitors, appointments of summer student maintenance workers, appointments of game personnel, appointments of ESY staff, appointments of math and literacy camp staff, and appointments of summer cleaner. In addition, we have resignation of Sharon Stanley, as well as Beth Smiley, both educators, WAMS, as well as the virtual program, VIP. Want to recognize and acknowledge Wanda Poper's retirement after 45 years. Miss Wanda was in the cafeteria when I was at WIMS as a teacher. So it's been 31 years ago that I first met Miss Wanda. So I want to congratulate her and offer the very best. The last item is 2 requests for one-day personal leave unpaid as well as a medical leave.
Dr. Sternerheim, could you move your microphone a little closer, please? Thank you.
Everybody wants to hear. Recommendation is to approve as listed.
To approve. Second.
Mrs. Poper was there when I was there in 1981. So that's, how about that?
Yeah, you've got me beat
40,
there.
40,
Yeah,
yeah.
it was 91 for me.
Okay. Okay. Any questions? Other
Actually,
comments?
my only question is, last year we had trouble with recruiting for our summer program, your math and literacy. How are we doing this year? It seems like we've approved quite a number of people.
Yeah, we changed it up a little bit. It is a math and literacy camp. Mrs. Everhart has taken a lead role in really working through with the elementary principals. I believe at this point, we are offering it just 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade. It will be at Fairview. At one point, we were hoping to have it at every building, but it will be at Fairview, but it will provide opportunities for all learners. I believe we're in wave 2. Oh. So we have assigned teachers to grade levels as well as paraeducators. We also have a school nurse, and we will also be providing transportation as needed, all funded by ESSERS.
Any other questions, comments? Hey, all those in favor of accepting the personnel recommendations, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? My other Mrs. Poper story, it was just comes to me. She's the one that told me, I think it was in '86, that the Challenger had exploded. I was back in the cafeteria. I don't even know why, but she was the one. They had heard it on the radio. And it's not a great thing to remember, but I do remember that with her. Okay, next item, bus drivers, Mr. Holtzman.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. We have several district drivers as well as one driver from McLeaf. They've met our requirements and we're requesting approval.
Questions for Mr. Holtzman? Motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next item, WAA contract extension, Dr. Klein.
Okay, we are asking the board to approve this extension through, it would be 2 additional years from the collective bargaining agreement that you had approved a couple, about a month or so ago. This would take the agreement into 2025-26. My understanding is WAA has asked this, so we are asking you to ratify it.
Okay, do we have a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Questions for Dr. Klein? Discussion, comments, anyone?
Actually, I would like to thank Dr. Klein. This was his initiative. And I'm happy to not go through another negotiation for
too.
another 4 years. And I think it actually is a very good contract too.
Thank you. And I have to give Mr. Holtzman a credit, because we were having a conversation one day and he said, oh, could do an early bird. Oh, good. So it just got the ball.
This is not the first time this has happened. I don't know how many times it's happened, at least in my career, but I know it happened at least once.
It's a late bird. Not really an early bird. I don't know.
No, early for the next one that would
Yeah,
happen.
that's true.
So. Okay. All right. Have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. Okay, block schedule. Who would be talking about that?
I'll
You wanna
go
talk about
ahead.
that, Dr.
I
Klein?
put it
Okay.
on the agenda. What we were asking is that for the 2023-24 or 2022-23 school year, 23-24, I was right the first time.
23,
I
24.
forgot where year,
Yep.
trying to think a year ahead.
Yep.
here. That we are asking that the board, we're recommending that WASD to begin the implementation of a block schedule for the 23-24. I would just read it. It's there.
Okay, do we have a motion?
Move to approve.
Thank you. This does come with the academic committee's recommendation as well. And we have had a presentation Dr. McCallum gave us and some discussion on that with other board members. Do we have any comment or anything else? So before we vote? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Parse membership.
Yeah, PARS is the Rural Schools, Pennsylvania Rural Schools organization that we are a member of. They send a lot of information. They do send a lot of information on the cyber charters to us and the things that they're trying to do in Harrisburg to help kind of slow the growth of that area down. They also were very big into the fair funding lawsuit that occurred here not long ago. They're still, they put a position paper out on it, but they also are still hoping it'll go somewhere. I'm not really as hopeful as they are, but we're still waiting for a decision from that lawsuit. Nonetheless, that's the membership. They do a lot for rural and small schools. So being rural, not as small as some and smaller than others, we are a member of it. So they've been pretty good. So we're asking to continue for another year.
Motion,
Move to approve.
Second.
questions? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? New dishwashers, Mr. Holtzman.
Yes, ma'am. We have 2 dishwashers we're requesting approval for Summit View and Hooverville. I was trying to find the age of the existing ones, and maybe I can get to it here pretty quick, but effectively we go out and we go out to bid for these items. This is the lowest responsible bidder. We did receive another bid, but it was for a different type of unit. We've traditionally used Hobart. They last for decades and decades. We did receive a bid for another competing company. It was slightly lower, but we're concerned about the quality based on reference checks that the food service director did and completed. So we're asking for replacement with these. And as I was talking, I hope to find it here fast enough. The one for Hooverville is from 1988. See here, yeah, it has a few years on it. And I think the other one's from no, it can't be 70. I'll find it here in a second, but it has some age on it. 85. So yeah, they have a few years on them. So they tend to last many, many decades, but they do cost a few dollars, so more than your average.
Motion,
Move to approve, since these are older than I am.
Wow.
And I should note, food service pays for this, by the way. They pay for this out of their funds.
okay, questions, comments? All those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Musical instruments, Mr. Holtzman.
Yes, ma'am. This was part of the budgeting process. As just as a reminder, we go out to the buildings for budgeting, starting typically in the fall. They go out to the different departments. Those departments bring the request back to the principals review them, then they bring them, we sit down with them with Dr. Sternerheim and I, and several members of Clayton Cabinet, we review the budgets. One of the big ticket items this year that was coming through was for musical instruments. And this request was really for musical instruments across the district. It came through the high school budget, but it was for the instruments across the district, serving two purposes. One, for some of the instruments are quite old that we do have today. And also they can use these as kind of a, to show the students, how to use the instruments correctly. They don't want to use the students' instruments as often as we might have in the past for many reasons. Obviously, a lot of them are COVID related. The other very important though aspect of this is that we do have a lot of students every year that maybe can't necessarily afford to, purchase or lease their own equipment. And so this provides a little bit of a loaner pool at each building level for some of those students to go ahead and use that equipment. So we can use ESSER funds for this. This is something we did apply for. It's approved underneath of the ESSER funds. It's about 133,000. I cannot tell you the last time we bought instruments, and I don't even know if the band department could tell us the last time we
I
purchased.
can tell you in 2013, it took 4 meetings for them to get one baritone.
Okay.
Wow.
Appreciate that, Dr. Ware. Yeah,
So I'm looking at this and thinking, this is like Christmas. Yeah.
and this is one of these things where it does pay to go out. We did go out to put it out to bid. This was the lowest bid from Menchie's. It's very close to our budget, which was good. So I think it's only about $2,000 what we budgeted at that point.
Okay, and we did have a presentation from music department members.
We did.
At budget, is it a
Yeah.
budget?
It might have been budget. Yes, ma'am. I
That
think
was
it
budget,
was.
yeah.
They did come and present. That was
No
probably
piano
about
on
2 or 3
here,
months
though.
ago.
The piano, yeah.
Yeah.
So we did have conversations about that at that meeting. Okay, motion.
Move to approve. I'll second that.
Okay, let's go, Ms. Zimmerman, Mr. Marvin. Questions, comments, anything further? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Just, Mrs. Harold.
Yes.
I'm understanding through Dr. McCallum that we will entertain donations from the community if they have instruments. However, we would have to make sure that they're instruments that can be utilized and for our learners. So,
Sure, yeah.
so we are making the purchase, so thank you very much, but we will also look at donations if
Yeah, okay, great.
we
Good to
have
know.
an instrument.
Okay, YMCA agreement, Dr. Klein,
Either way, I can.
or,
It's up
I'm
to you.
sorry,
Doesn't
whoever
matter.
has that.
Oh, no, this basic agreement is one that we do, I think, every year for the after and before school programs at the Y.
That's correct.
Has been doing for us for a number of years. So that we're just asking for the board to approve.
Motion,
Move to approve.
Second.
comments, questions?
And I want to make it clear, we don't pay them, they pay us for this.
More? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, transportation contracts with 2 private schools. Mr. Holtzman.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. So we do, as a requirement for Pennsylvania, if you provide transportation to public school students, and that's actually not a requirement, believe it or not. It's not a requirement for us to provide transportation to public school students. But if you do provide transportation, you have to also provide it for non-public students up to 10 miles from the closest point of your border. So that includes, unfortunately, to a certain extent, parts of Chambersburg, Hagerstown, Emmitsburg, things of that nature. So we're required to provide transportation to there. What we found is that it's a little bit more beneficial with 2 of our non-publics to go ahead and have a contract individually with them. It's a 1-year contract at a time. We pay them the actual index rate, so it's slightly lower than what we pay our actual contractors. And what this does is it gives them a little bit more flexibility too, because traditionally, if we provided the transportation, that bus would only be allowed to pick up students here in Waynesboro or students that live in the Waynesboro community. It would not be able to pick up students in any neighboring district as they were going to Shalom or Cumberland Valley. And so we had kind of talked to them at one point in the past. And so basically, this gives them a little flexibility. If they have a student or 2 that's in the Chambersburg district on their way into there, they can pick that student up on that bus. So it does kind of work out for them to their advantage a little bit. And we feel we're saving a little bit money because we're paying a little bit lower of an index rate than what we would be paying our contractors. So again, these are 1-year agreements, and there's also no minimum day requirement in these schedules, by the way. We don't have a minimum transportation schedule in the non-public schedules. So.
there an amount in here?
No, because it's just the index and it varies based on the age of the bus and I can,
So like, just like,
I can
any
give you an
idea
idea of what it
ballpark?
typically costs. Yeah, sure. I apologize. Give me a second. I could tell you what we paid so far this year and then that, I want to double check to see if I already have May and June in this schedule. Okay, I did not have May and June yet the schedule, but it'll probably be around $3,000. We've paid Cumberland Valley 22,000, so it'll be about $25,000. That excludes the extra $2 that we have been paying them out of ESSER funds. That's about an extra $1,000.
Right, got it.
And
Okay.
then Shalom is a little bit more because they have more students. In total for them, it's about $81,000, and we could add about $10,000 more to that for May and June.
My question would be, how many other states in the country provide this service?
I really don't know the answer to that question, but I
I'm not
can't imagine
sure-
too
I'm
many.
not sure there are
I
any.
can't imagine.
I'm not sure there are any others that do this. No neighboring states, I don't think, sure.
Yeah,
I'm
no.
not sure anybody does that, so.
We've had the situation in some neighboring districts. They've literally had the situation where individuals will move up from Hagerstown just over the border to the neighboring district because they get free transportation when they live in Pennsylvania,
Yep.
back to the non-public schools. Whereas
Yeah.
if they were in Maryland, they would not receive transportation.
Correct.
So they would have to be
Correct.
required to pay it. So
Yeah.
we do see those cases once in a while. It is a rather lengthy drive. If you think about it, it's from 10 miles to the nearest point in your district. So literally, if you had a student, and again, this is hypothetical, but if you had a student in South Mountain, you would have to transport them all the way to Hagerstown. If you think about that.
Right.
So one of those situations,
Yeah.
or a student in Blue Ridge Summit could go theoretically all the way up to Chambersburg for one of the non-publics there.
Transport to Gettysburg on a story.
Yeah.
For a charter.
Yep, the charge.
Well, they don't always, like, I'm pretty sure, correct me if I'm wrong, the Shalom bus actually picks the kids up down at Mountain Gate, Keystone, whatever. the restaurant
They
is.
try, right, again,
So
right,
they don't
try
actually go to every
consolidate.
person's house all the time.
Right.
They try to get a general stop for them. It
They
helps a
do.
little bit.
Right, because again, my hypothetical is a really bad example, but right, hypothetically, you could have
Yeah,
that situation.
Yeah, you could, yeah. Okay,
You're right. We've tried to work with our legislators on this several times over the last 12 years, 14 years. It goes nowhere. If you remember, we had a previous state senator, Alloway, who was on the transportation committee, I think, for the state. And he got all excited about it when we told him it cost us, this is 10 years ago, it was about $100,000 a year because reimbursement is insignificant compared to the reimbursement we receive for our normal transportation. So we receive very little. It's about $385 per student for the whole year is all we receive. And he brought it up to the table and it went absolutely nowhere. He said, there's just too much support for this, primarily over in the southeastern part of the state. Imagine the number of students who are going to schools in New Jersey and Delaware from south and eastern part of Pennsylvania.
Like Karen, when I worked in Montgomery County, if every child in private schools in Montgomery County decided to not go to private school and went to public school, there wouldn't be enough room in the buildings. And the district that I was in, we transported to 97 private schools
oh my goodness.
within a 10-mile radius.
Oh my goodness.
Because we went all the way into, way into Philadelphia.
Yeah.
It was 10 miles. So imagine that, but imagine bus boss for that.
Yeah. And imagine 10 miles in a very urban area or a very dense area. I mean, that could be a long trip.
Yeah,
Springfield actually has more kids in private school than they do in the district.
okay, well, again, we have no choice in this. So do we have a motion, though, to approve this?
Move to approve.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed?
Thank you.
Okay. And last one in the business section is the FCCTC final budget. Is that you again, Mr. Holtzman?
I think so, unless anybody else needs to. So this is our career and tech budget for the year. It's actually down a little bit from last year. It's the same amount as was in their preliminary budget of about the last month to 2 months that they've been posting. So our share is about $952,000 next year. That's down about $65,000. It's down for a couple of reasons, typically because of enrollment. What it happens is they look at a 3-year average enrollment, rolling 3 years. So even if ours stays the same from an enrollment perspective, if other districts send more students up there, then obviously that changes the weighting a little bit. So the weighting system is actually pretty beneficial. There were some districts that were kind of gaming the system a little bit at one point, whereas they might send fewer students one year, and again, not for real good educational reasons, but they might send fewer students that year. So their costs were lower, but then everybody pays the price the next year. So it's, I think the three-year average number, I think, is kind of taken that that issue out of the mix a little bit. And so now we have a little bit better process, I think.
Lagging costs coming up, because Dr. McCallum, you have more going next year, right? So that's a good thing. But
It is,
it
it's
is
a
a
good thing.
lagging cost down the
Right.
road in a couple of years.
But again, it's nice because if we have a, every once in a while, you'll have what we would call a bubble. We'll have maybe 10%, 15% more students in a grade or multiple grades. And when they're going through, if you get all those at one shot, well, your budget really jumps up. But if it's modulated by 3 years, then it helps smooth it out a little bit.
And the Career Center is kind of unique. It is a competitor, but it is also a partner with us. And it's one of those things that, we compete for kids, but yet they're also a partner helping out our kids.
Any comments from our board reps, Ms. Fortney, Ms. Strite? No? Okay, do we have a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, on to financials. Mr. Holtzman.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. We have typical purchase orders. We have bills for the general fund and the cafeteria fund. We also have a couple upset sales. Those are typically sales because they were just unable to get interest in the property itself. It's for tax purposes. In many cases, it's oftentimes a single wide trailer, as these examples here. Then we also have some April exonerations of per capita and occupation taxes. There's a tax deputy change. That's something we also ask for your approval. Tax collectors are required to have a deputy. At one point, they did not have to have a deputy. So that became a kind of a risk that the Commonwealth realized that it would be a good thing to have somebody who could take over that role should that person hit the lottery and leave or something else. So that is a good item. And so we have the approval for that tax deputy. And the final one is a property assessment change that comes out of the county assessment office. It's just a very minor change there on the property.
Okay, we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Questions? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you.
Okay, information items, Clayton Cabinet.
I just want to thank WAEA for working with us to solidify a contract for our staff through 25-26. I want to thank them and thank the board.
Anything else, Clayton?
Mrs. Harris, oh, sorry, Dr.
Yep.
Sternheim.
No, go ahead, Nick. Are you going to talk about what I'm going to talk about?
I don't know. You
Is
can
it
go
Merlin?
first. No,
We can talk
you can
about-
go first. I wasn't talking about Merlin, but
We're
you
not going
can.
to talk about Merlin. Okay, so in addition to Teacher Appreciation Week last week, we had a lot of fun activities. We hosted the Special Olympics at the Washes Stadium, and it was a great success. It was great to get a chance to get out there and see some of the students having a wonderful time. In addition, we also have been successful in, I believe at this point, Mr. Erickson, how many Merlins do we have in the district at this point?
We have 50.
50. So we had 50 teachers who essentially attended the training and agreed to have it. So we have this amazing technology that we are now utilizing. And the Record Herald did feature an article on Merlin Mine last week. In addition, he is a graduate of the Waynesbury School District 2017. Forrest Rhines did sign a contract with the Annapolis Colts. He was playing at Villanova. So congratulations to Forrest. His mother is a teacher at the Waynesboro Senior High School. So very proud of our alumni. Sorry, Nick, you're up.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to let the board know that one of Dr. Klein's projects were our phone on hold messages and our greetings. We are going to have students. So when anybody calls into the district, they're actually going to hear students' voices when they call in for our greetings and also our on hold messages. So our greetings will probably go active Monday. And then the on hold messages will go active in the following days. So we're excited about that.
Thank you, Mr. Erickson, for doing that. I think you'll notice that the usage of the phone will go up on Saturday nights so people can call and hear the kids on it without a delay. We found that in my last district. The calls jump really high on Saturday night.
Okay. On to board comments. Any board members want to comment on anything?
I have one thing. So tomorrow evening, I will be emceeing the Leadership Franklin County graduation in Chambersburg. And it is through that leadership program that I got to know Mrs. Harold and Dr. Klein, because they were both speakers in that program when I went through it. And somehow Mrs. Harold convinced me that I should run for school board. So here I am. But that is a very good program for both the county and for those that go through it. And so definitely encourage those who have the ability to participate. That is a well-done program. It is also one where for us as a district or any local nonprofits, they do requests for proposal for projects throughout the year. So they just released that initial request for proposals. I think I was chatting a little bit with Dr. Klein and about maybe opportunities our district could participate in a project, but if anyone in the community works for a local nonprofit, they also take requests for proposals as well. So.
Good to know.
I sent an eye.
Yes, he did. It was very good.
Anybody else? Yes.
I just wanted to thank Dr. McCallum and Dr. Kopko for all their hard work getting us ready to return to block scheduling. Having been here when we went off block scheduling, it's kind of interesting now we're going back on block scheduling, but really looking forward to being able to restore some of the programs that were negatively impacted when we went off the block. But I can't even imagine your reaction when you thought, here we go again. So thank you for being willing to take that on and do a lot of research. So I think we're going into this decision a lot more well-informed than we were when we went off the block. So thank you.
If not, we will be adjourning. We have no executive session today. So have that. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, see you in 2 weeks.